as a skeptic, somebody who's agnostic, somebody who's going to question, they may say, okay, you have reports out of Mecca and Arabia and these caravans and Medina, but what about other parts of the world? If some great event like this happened, like the moon splits, then surely people in other parts of the world would have seen it. Well, first thing, it is unrealistic to expect that people would have seen it in the daytime, right? Because we can't see the moon in the daytime. So, you know, in parts of North America and South America and Europe, if you look at time, if it was the early part of the night, obviously this wasn't midnight or 2, 3 a.m. because then people would have been asleep in those days. In the early part of the night, if the moon split, when the people are out, that means that in Europe and the United States, which obviously didn't exist at the time, but let's say North America and South America, it would be daytime. Night had not come. The sun begins its cycle from the east and sets in the west. So that means it would have been daytime. It is unrealistic to expect them to have seen it. Although if you go way back into Japan and Fiji and these areas, then it would have been probably getting very, very late. So most people would have been sleeping. But where is it likely that somebody could have seen it other than Arabia? Well, there could have been reports, no doubt, out of places like India, because Al-Hind, which would be east of Arabia, it would still be, you know, the earlier part of the night. Okay, so why don't we have any reports from there? Well, we do. In the book called Qissatul Shakaruti Farmat, which is in a manuscript format, the actual handwritten manuscript in the British Library, there is evidence that has been produced that there was an account in India regarding this by a king of Kerala of southern India that saw this, and later when he met Muslims he became a Muslim. Now you can question that report, and I did as well. We want to make sure that we're looking at authentic, well-established history. No problem. So what I did is I emailed the British Library and I asked them about this, and I'm going to read off their email. So the inquiry I sent was to the British Library, which is at 96 Euston Road, London, NW1 2DB, United Kingdom. And I called them and I emailed them and I requested information about this manuscript. The response I got is from the Asian Africa Reference Services India office, that's a subdivision of that service, from the India Office Papers, Oriental Language Publications and Oriental Language Manuscripts. They said, we are pleased to confirm that we do indeed hold in our collection a composite manuscript, and the reference number is IO Islamic 2807. On portfolios 81 through 104 verso, there is an account of an Indian king having witnessed the splitting of the moon and converting to Islam. The manuscript is entitled Qissatul Shakaruti Farmat and is listed in our published catalogs with the following: a fabulous account of the first settlement of Mohammedans in Malabar under King Shakaruti Krenagro, a contemporary of Muhammad, peace be upon him, who was converted to Islam by the miracle of the division of the moon. So there is such a manuscript, but can you say this was a first-hand account? Can you say this is a historically acceptable account? Well, they are, the library in Britain is not qualified to do that. They can just tell you there is a manuscript. So what I did is I reached out to the National Digital Library of India. And this is a project in India where they have taken many manuscripts across India, and they have made a project of digitally scanning them and putting them up. This is a central library. It is an ISO certified library, as they have put in their email, under ISO 9001:2015, and so on and so on. So I emailed them about this manuscript and if there were any other historic documentation that they had. After a long time of me waiting and sending additional emails, I got a response from them. And they said, thank you for your question about the manuscript Qissatul Shakaruti Farmat. There is a digital copy of the translation from the Israel Oriental Studies Journal by Dr. Yunan Friedman, So there's actually a translation. We say we do not house the original manuscript as it is housed in the British Library in London, which is the first people that I had contacted. As for the record of a king named Chakravarti Farmas, also pronounced Farmad, and his observation of the splitting of the moon and later embracing Islam, then this is well documented in many manuscripts that are housed in the National Digital Library of India. The name Shiraman Perumal, and I may be mispronouncing this, is a title that is often ascribed to kings who ruled Kerala from the Chera dynasty before 1000 AD. After 1000 AD, they were called Kula Shirokaras. So just the fact that that title was named under Chiriman shows that this was a very early report and an early writing. Now, according to their email, they said there are numerous oral and written traditions that state that Chiraman Perumal, the Chera king, called Shanakara Varman and Shakramati, with the title of Chiringal Perumal, sorry, I'm probably butchering these names, but who ruled from 621 to 640, and again that would put him exactly at the time of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him's early time, because the Hijrah was around 622, so that would mean that his rule would be right before the migration of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, witnessed the splitting of the moon. And when he met Muslim traders, he converted to Islam, according to these reports, and they will mention books here, in 627. This is recorded in Tarikh Zuhur al-Islam fil Malibar, an early manuscript on the genesis of Islam in Kerala, housed in the digital library, and they give the manuscript number here. This is supported by what is documented in the book Tuhfatul Mujahideen by Sheikh Zainuddin, and this was also confirmed by Dr. Hermann Gundrit, a German Christian missionary, scholar, and linguist. This is also, his work is in the digital library, and they've given the manuscript number here as well. Dr. German Gundrit speaks of two Chera kings who went to Mecca, Shankarwanmarma, during the first century of Islam, and Rama Varma Kulashkankaram in the later, who would also be called under the title of Sherman Perumal. This account is also, in fact, recorded by the Portuguese writer Dorte Barbosa. And we have a manuscript here in the digital library for that as well. He writes about a mighty king named Sherman Perumal who ruled Kerala, converting to Islam, and ordered the Sherman Mosque, which is still standing in India. This was built in 629 AD after the death of Sherman Perumal, who died in the Arabian Peninsula, according to these reports. This is also confirmed by another Portuguese writer named Joás de Barros and Diogo Alcortos. Both of them have confirmed these events as well in their historic writings that have been recorded in manuscripts that are in the digital library. He ends this email with, in India, it is well known part of our history, and the accounts of Chera kings who witnessed the splitting of the moon is well accepted as a historically proven record with oral and written traditions. Other historic events of that time period are accepted based on such reports. This is also an account that was witnessed by Ratan al-Hindi, who also converted to Islam, as recorded in Al-Isaba of Ibn Hajar. Now, this is the end of the email from the National Digital Library of India Project, Central Library. They gave their ISO certification, phone number and contact information in Kharagpur. Now, this was very interesting to me because I actually have the book Al-Isaba, and I looked it up. That is this something that has been mentioned by Ibn Hajar Asqalani? And there is a report, and I've put the report up on the screen by Ibn Hajar Asqalani. In summary, when we look at an extraordinary claim, no doubt we have provided here extraordinary evidence. Eyewitnesses, and not just eyewitnesses, those that were proponents and opponents, those that were in the same city of Mecca and those that were outside of Mecca, those those reports are all eyewitness first-hand reports that have been verified and documented. On top of that, we have seen reports that are historically acceptable. They do not meet the level of criterion that Islamic scholars have for checking of Jarh wa Ta'deel, but they are acceptable reports, historic reports out of India, of multiple sources that orally and in written format have documented that there was a king in India that witnessed this and later accepted Islam. The mosque that was built, and there's a picture of the mosque here, it is still standing. It has been through fires and so on, but it is such a well accepted fact that this mosque was built by that king after his accepting of Islam, after his witnessing the splitting of the moon, that even the Prime Minister of India made a gold replica of it to give a gift to the King of Saudi Arabia, showing the history of Islam in India. And there's a picture of this that I've put on the screen here for you to see. All the information about the kings of India and what happened during that time frame have been accepted through such reports. So this, collaborated by the eyewitness accounts in the time of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, that are no doubt verified, show clear evidence. There is more evidence presented here than for most of history. Columbus coming to South America and where he landed and what happened between him and the Incas and the Aztecs and so on. Who were the eyewitnesses to these accounts? Who did they tell this account to? Who were their parents? Who were their children? How reliable was their memory? We don't know. Because of those oral traditions, because of writings that are way after them, we accept these accounts. So what I say is, when you have eyewitness accounts, people who were verified that saw this, proponents, companions of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, also opponents, polytheists, not only that they were present there, but in other parts of Arabia that saw this event. And not just that, even when this claim was put forward, none of the polytheists for years after that were present ever challenged it. None of them said, when did the moon split? It's in your Quran, your Prophet said it, we didn't see it. No, they accepted that it happened, but they made excuses, it was magic, it was this or that, but they accepted it, that this miraculous event did happen. And collaborating evidence, historic evidence from India, as this non-Muslim historian, he's a Hindu, from India has confirmed that this is accepted history through many manuscripts, many writings, oral traditions. When we have all of this together, then no doubt this was an event that occurred. And this was a miracle of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. And we encourage everybody who's a skeptic, everybody who wants to question, to go out and read more about the life of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him. Because the greatest miracle of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, the Quran, is still with us. Take it, read it. The life of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, read about it. His other miracles, read about it. And let them be a guiding force for you.